Hi, my name is Adriana, and for my group lead project, I decided to lead a task group comprised of youth ministry leaders as well as youth ministry volunteers in order to discuss the state of our youth ministry and to devise a plan to do a better job at reaching not just the youth within our particular ministry, but also those youth that are in our community. I decided to hold this meeting because over the past 2 or 3 years, we've seen a dramatic decline in participation in our youth ministry. And I've spoken with the youth, and they've given me some insight as to why this is the case. And so I wanted to make sure that I was able to kind of share this information with youth leaders and our pastor, as well as those volunteers who are involved, and to let them know that there's something that we must do so that we can kind of win those youth back. And so this meeting took place actually on yesterday, which was August the 12th. It started at 11 a.m. and lasted approximately an hour and a half. The meeting was held at my church in North Carolina. We utilized one of our small meeting classrooms. We had 5 participants. These were the 2 teen church leaders, one of the youth ministry volunteers, the pastor, and his wife, and there was no co-leader involved. It was just me. So in regards to just an observation as far as the group dynamics and content is concerned, members of this particular group, they were already acquainted with one another. You know, we've all been a part of this ministry for years now, and we have all served in various capacities within the ministry together. So we're comfortable with one another. There's already this sense of family that exists amongst the group. And you can see this, this was observed, just in the dynamics, kind of the interactions between myself and the leaders of the group. People felt free to share their ideas or concerns or again, their ideas without fear of, their suggestions being shot down or receiving any negative reactions to those concerns or those suggestions. Members were extremely attentive as I presented information to the group. And they were even more attentive and respectful while other members of the group spoke, whether it was, again, expressing concern or just giving a suggestion. They were especially interested in the information I presented or them hearing the feedback concerning the youth and what the youth had already they had already spoken about concerning our current, our past, and our future endeavors as far as our efforts in reaching the youth. And in hearing these things, it really sparked some motivation. I could see the wheels turning in everyone's heads and the excitement that kind of arose as group members were eager to participate in the brainstorming session of our meeting of how we could, again, get those youth back, so to speak. And so the goal was to come up with at least 10 ideas to implement next year. And these included creating a monthly newsletter to center our youth that are currently in college, as well as hosting a roundtable for youth to discuss or address those things that they may be curious about. And then we can as well include a biblical worldview as we discuss through some of those things. And so the main skill I utilized during this meeting was that of clarification and questioning. And this was mainly used as group members shared their suggestions to make sure there was a clear understanding across the board concerning what that member was trying to say or express at that time. And so as I consider, if I take a moment and step back to just assess myself in this particular situation as I handled this particular group meeting as a leader, really my role during this meeting was simply that of a facilitator. And just to keep the groups focused, I really allowed the members to bounce ideas off of one another without interfering. And so in a previous discussion board post, I mentioned that integrating this particular skill or the skill of scanning the room for nonverbal cues would be difficult for me because I felt that it would be a distraction. But during this meeting, I feel that I did a pretty good job. I did well at scanning the room for nonverbal cues. I wanted to definitely take that opportunity to kind of build on that weakness that I had acknowledged about myself as it pertains to leading groups. And the main challenge that I encountered while in the midst of this group simply was just managing time. And so managing the amount of time allotted to members to speak. There were times where members spoke a little longer than necessary. well, I won't say necessary, just spoke a little longer. And so you can kind of see that it kind of slowed the meeting down, so to speak. So that was one challenge. And to wrap up the meeting, I used the whole summarization or summarizing skill. And I wanted to summarize the key points made during the meeting to clear up, again, any confusion that may have still been lingering, to make sure that we were all on the same page as we look to move forward in implementing these ideas and winning our youth back. And so, just in concluding, and thinking about application, I have been known in the past to be a little pushy, if I'm honest, during meetings, when it comes to trying to get my point and my suggestions and my concerns and my comments across, or get those things on the table. But in allowing members to be immersed in the discussion and me just mainly being a facilitator, a lot more was accomplished. There were different perspectives introduced, which led to some pretty creative ideas that was thrown out on the table or put into place. And so had I stepped in too much as a leader, we would have missed out on that. So I will continue to play the role as facilitator in upcoming meetings. I will definitely have to do a better job at my cutting off skills, just for the sake of managing time, because allowing one member to speak for too long brings down the energy of the group as a whole. It's potentially distracting. It distracts the focus of the group. And so for my group lead project, I did host this particular meeting just to talk with the youth ministry leaders and volunteers, as well as the pastor, so that we can do a better job at reaching our youth. And so that was it. It was a great experience, and I'm grateful to be able to apply what I've learned in this particular class in an actual setting, and I look forward to implementing those even more in the future. Thanks.